Well, hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me. It's so nice to be here with you. It's Thursday, and you know what Thursday means. Thursday is actually the day that the unemployment numbers come out. So let's talk about what's happened last week. Unfortunately, unemployment numbers here in the United States continue to struggle. 837,000 Americans filed for unemployment again last week. And unfortunately, the market was pretty flat on the Dow because the Dow closed down closed up 36 points. The NASDAQ closed up 159 points, which is a beautiful thing because if you remember, yesterday the NASDAQ was up over 80 points and we continue to see strength in the technology names, Amazon, Microsoft, and of course, Facebook continue to do very well along with Google. Now, everybody is watching right now on what's happening with the next round of stimulus. As you remember, Democrats and Republicans met again today virtually to try and come up with another round of the stimulus bill. In fact, the Democrats have walked one step a little closer. Well, today, the Republicans also did that as well. Currently, what we have is the GOP has agreed to come up to $1.6 trillion on a package, but far, far, far away from the Democrats at $2.2 trillion, I believe, still. And what the biggest things that we're missing right now is because of the main things that we're still sort of discussing are unemployment benefits of between $400 on the side of Republicans, $600 on the side of Democrats, and on what that looks like in terms of state relief. That's where some of the biggest differences lie. Democrats certainly want to give states a little bit more. Republicans are saying, you know what, I don't know if we want to give that much right now. So all eyes continue to be on the stimulus package. We're hoping to have some notification of more funds coming to those that continue to suffer because of the pandemic and hopefully before the election. But on other matters, many of you continue to see businesses struggle. Also, household income has decreased by more than 2% and across the board. So what does that mean for your budget and what can you do about your business? Many of you know that during challenging times in the financial markets like this is some of the best times to build your business. And so, what do we do? What can we do at the comfort of our own home or businesses to really build our business to that next level? And one of the best things that I love to do is take time to invest in resources like this. I'm excited to introduce our 4 guests today. This is a level up live first time that we've actually had this many guests on the show at one time. So wish me luck because today I couldn't wait actually to introduce the 4 authors of the ultimate guide to social media marketing. You can see how much love this book is getting from me. So let's bring the authors up and let's say a quick hello. Come on, everybody. Let's say hello to everybody.
Hi.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. So, Jen Herman, it's wonderful to see you. How are you, Jen?
I'm great. So great to see you, Winnie.
So great to see you. You like my book because I love this new book, and I'm hoping we can talk a lot about it today.
Yes, and I love that there's already all the sticky notes in there. That's awesome. Thank you.
This is the way to do it. Amanda, I know that, you and I would probably have preferred hot pink Post-its today.
Completely.
But let me ask you, Amanda, so where are you joining us from today?
I'm joining you from beautiful Victoria, British Columbia on Vancouver Island right now. I'm the token Canadian of the crew here.
I love this. That there's a saying that, you never meet a Canadian that you love. And I'm guessing, Stephanie, that you would agree. Stephanie, where are you joining us from today?
Joining you from beautiful, sunny San Diego.
Yay. Sunny San Diego. Well, I don't know. Every time I see you, I feel like it's sunny because you just have this aura of happiness. Jen, where are you joining us?
I'm also down here in San Diego, and it's sunny. It's hot today.
It's hot today. Well, I'm here in Orange County. It's pretty hot. And my friend Mike Alton right now. And Mike, where are you joining us from today?
I am in St. Louis, and apologies for having to turn my video off. My internet is not cooperating today, unfortunately, but I hope you can hear me okay.
Actually, we can hear you just fine. I think many of you can relate to this. Those of you joining us, as you know, we are streaming live today on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, as well as Twitch, where we're monitoring your questions and comments throughout the stream. So don't be shy. We'd love to hear from you. And I think many of us can relate to having choppy internet days. I don't know, some days when all 3 of my kids are online and myself and my husband, it just doesn't seem to work that well. So I think we're definitely experiencing that with Mike today. But you know what? Don't worry, Mike. We got you. We're going to talk a lot about social media marketing. You know, many companies are looking at their balance sheets right now and thinking, you know, I feel like I need to learn more about social media. I don't even know where to start. I have a successful business or I've had some earnings, but I feel like because of the pandemic, I might want to think and look at things a little differently. And I think that's what I love about this book. It sort of takes at 360, that holistic approach to social media. And it's great because, you know, one of my biggest pet peeves is when you buy a book and there's a lot of fluff and you're not sure what is going, you don't know like if you can implement it, and you feel like you could have spent that money on cheesecake. And you know what I mean?
This is definitely a better than cheesecake worthy book. And don't get me wrong, like I love cheesecake. So there's high value there for me. But yes, I would put the money into the book over cheesecake. Just by no, I'm kidding.
I think this book is worth probably 4 times what you charge for it. However, I will say, and I will say, the thing that I love about that is it gives us a lot of examples. So I thought, you know what, since we're all friends here, and those of you who are tuning in, you're my family, you know, so we want to get the author's impression of the things that you definitely want to pay attention to in this book. You know, you'll see that I have post-its here that Amanda and I were just joking because, you know, we love hot pink, as you know. But some of the things that I think when you're building your business, and you're taking your business on digital, it can be very daunting because you don't know where to start. It seems like everyone's telling you different things, different areas that you should be focusing on. And I love to have this discussion and actually start with Jen, if you don't mind, on this is, if I'm looking to take my business on social media, I don't have a social footprint yet. What are some areas that you think we should be thinking about when we're first starting? Just so, because I always say, you know, you really want to get good financial advice because it can be very costly if you get poor advice or you don't have advice at all and you just try this at the same time. But social media is that way, right? If you just sort of start, but you don't have a guide, you can make a lot of mistakes, and time is money.
100%. And I agree completely. And that's why I am a huge proponent of the word strategy. I love to help clients. And I encourage all, you know, my readers and watchers and everybody to really focus on that strategy first and foremost. And that's going to come with a variety of questions. This can be very complicated depending on the size of your organization. But some of the things you want to think about are, what do you want as your ultimate end goal in terms of something that's qualitative and something that's quantitative? So you're going to look for things like, you know, I want to increase, you know, revenue by 20%. That's a quantitative. You maybe also be looking for things that are qualitative. You want to increase your brand awareness. You want to build more customer loyalty. You want to have, you know, a better brand relationship with your influencers and those sorts of things. So there's these different criteria that you're going to set as your established goals for approximately, I usually recommend about a 1-year time period. We want some short-term goals, yes. And of course, we all want long-term goals, but 1 year for a social media strategy is usually a good ballpark to get started and allow that flexibility to work towards it and adapt as things happen. As you start to figure out what those goals are, now you have to figure out where you're going to go in terms of social media. And that comes down to knowing your target audience. If your target audience is mostly, you know, women over the age of 50, you're going to want to target certain social platforms. If your target audience are, you know, teenage boys, then that's going to target a different type of platform. So you really want to know who that audience is, where they're hanging out online. So now you can start to figure out where to get started. Most small businesses, you know, are probably not able to manage 4 or 5 social media platforms if you've never had a digital footprint before, besides maybe a website. So you want to pick 1, maybe 2 platforms to really get focused on, build those foundations. Maybe you choose Facebook and Instagram. Maybe you choose Twitter and LinkedIn. Whatever you choose, start there. Start to build the foundations of understanding how to communicate with your audience, what you're putting out there in terms of content that's helping you reach that end goal. Once you learn from that process what's working, and you kind of have a good understanding of, okay, now Facebook is working for me, I've got the handle on this, now we can add that additional platform. So now maybe you add in Pinterest or YouTube or something else where you continue to grow an ad over a period of time. You're also going to want to make sure that when you're creating your content that you're, focusing on your audience. And I think this is really key for a lot of businesses to understand is we so much want to talk about ourselves. Here's our product, here's our service, buy it, buy it, buy it. And that's not what people are looking for. If you have a brick and mortar store, if somebody calls your store, you don't literally open that conversation with, here's what's for sale. You start with, how are you? How's your day going? If you know that customer, you're asking, how are the kids? How's the weather? All these different conversational topics. And keep in mind that social media is that same kind of environment where we want to have social engagement, share resources, fun facts, things that help them, so that as you're creating this engagement with them, when you do ask for a sale, when you do promote something coming up, as part of a campaign, they're more likely to follow through because you've been helping them out through that process. And your strategy has to incorporate all those different types of content to meet that goal.
Sure. So Jen, let me ask you this. I'm glad that you mentioned this. It really depends on your audience and most importantly for business owners, where your ideal client or customer is. I actually love to do that. I remember the first time I got on a social media platform, that's what I did. Survey my clients. Where are they most active? And that probably is a good place to start. Jen, one thing that we hear from a lot of business owners, as well as on my tweet chat is, so I'm thinking about spending money on paid advertising. I hear that I should advertise on Facebook or Google ads or whatnot. What do you say to that? What do you tell a business owner when they're first launching? Should they be looking at paid advertising?
Yeah, and I know Amanda's going to have a lot more opinions on this than I do. Yes, the answer is yes. For me, I always tell my clients, you have to baseline with your organic content. The reality is if you put money behind bad content, it doesn't make it any better. So you need to know what you're doing organically in order to have success with the paid components. So you want to be able to look at your content and say, just in terms of what you've done with no ad spend, what is the best performing content? Is it photos? Is it videos? Is it links? Is it text? What types of photos are performing better? What types of calls to action are performing better? When you start to understand what works organically within your audience, then you start putting the ad spend behind that, because that you already know is working, and the ad money will continue to make it do better and reach more people in the long run.
I love that. All right, so Amanda, you're up. I feel like we need to talk about this. Let's talk about that. Jen gave us a great foundation. Once again, paid advertising. In the media world, often we hear of earned media and paid media, right? So a lot of times people come and they'll want to be on my show or they'll what, and there's a difference. When it comes to social media, right? A lot of business owners are saying, how much should I start with? What's their budget? What steps should I take? I don't just want to pay for something I don't understand. Should I actually engage an expert, or is it something that I can do by myself?
I love this question. I love everything that Jen just said. I just want to champion everything she just said. If you don't use your organic strategy as your sandbox for understanding what's actually working and what's not working and what your audience is actually consuming and receptive to, then once you start layering on paid advertising, it's going to amplify everything. But it's going to amplify everything that's working. It's also going to amplify everything that's not working. So if your system is broken, it's just going to pour a whole bunch of attention span in there that isn't working, frustrate you, and make you feel like you're wasting your dollars. So how much should you be spending when it comes to paid media on social media? It depends on managing those expectations and working with the budget that you have to work with. So I'm a Facebook ads geek. Everything I do is eat, breathe, sleep, and speak on Facebook ads. But I also work with Google ads. I also work with other forms of advertising. So I help clients and business owners understand that they need to manage those expectations. If you only have $500 a month that you're coming to the table with, then perhaps splitting that across LinkedIn ads, Google ads, and Facebook ads is not going to help you reach your objectives. Some of them are more expensive than others, but some of them will get you more higher quality results than others. So it depends. You have to match up what advertising platform with you want to be present on, along with the budget that you have to work with, and managing those expectations of what goals that budget can accomplish. So for example, if you have less than $500 a month to spend and you come to me and want a full Facebook ad strategy, I might say, okay, rather than having ads that are getting you reach and getting your cold audience moved into warm audience, and then ultimately moving them into sales, I'm going to say we need to manage that expectation, dial it back, and perhaps focus, hyper focus that budget onto gaining you new attention and getting people to like, comment, share, engage, or watch videos within your content, so that we can then have an audience of warm people that we're growing to remarket to in the future. So it's a matter of managing and matching up those expectations. Google ads are probably one of the holy grails of online advertising. They are some of the highest quality clicks, highest quality traffic that you can get. They are expensive, but it's worth it. And it's worth having it layered in with your strategy. If you're looking at advertising on LinkedIn, it's going to be amazing for you, but it's going to cost you a very pretty penny, and you need to have an excellent strategy going into it. And if you don't know where to start or what that strategy looks like, that's where a resource like The Ultimate Guide to Social Media Marketing is going to help give you a full picture to help you make a better decision as a business owner on where you need to start depending on what the needs of your business are.
Yes. Okay, great. I love that. Thank you so much, Amanda. Really helpful. This is an area that I really want to talk to you about. Oh, and Stephanie, I'm going to pull you into this. The whole discussion of live streaming video. You know, I've read in this book, there's a whole section on live streaming, which I love. And, you know, I think what we should do, Stephanie, is define this, because some people get confused. You know, on social media, there's video and then there's live streaming. Can you explain sort of difference to maybe business owners who haven't engaged in either yet?
Oh, absolutely. So when it comes to video just on Facebook or LinkedIn and on Twitter, that's usually pre-recorded video. This is video that you have shot on your smartphone or on your DSLR. It's most likely been edited in some type of way, and then it's uploaded to those channels. Now, when you're live, it is live. This is something where you can go live on a smartphone, a device, or through a third-party platform, kind of like what we're using right now, where you can have this amazing production. Like, look over here, look at that. There's a logo right there. That's awesome. So you could create branded content, engage in real time with your audience. So the more questions you have about what we're talking about, the more important. And not only that, though, but you can go live on multiple destinations. This gives your audience an opportunity where if they haven't had a chance to engage with you, this is where they can build that relationship with you and ask those questions. Get a feel for your personality. What do you stand for? How do you answer questions? Is that the type of person that I want to work with? Yeah. So live streaming is really fun. It's obviously there's a whole chapter dedicated to it. I was like, we're going to talk about everything about live streaming.
There is. And in fact, in your book, it says 79% of consumers say a brand's video has persuaded them to buy software or an app. So I'm interested in learn this from you, Amanda, if I could have you jump in on this. If I'm a business, right, do you recommend sort of doing more individual personal content or more company content? Which one do you feel should lead if someone doesn't have content yet for their business?
It's going to depend on the nature of your business. So if you are building a personal brand, or if you have the ability to bring real people to the forefront of that business to be able to build relationships and have those connections, people are always going to perform better. As far as when we're talking about algorithms and analytics, people are going to perform better. So if you're hiding behind a company label, it's going to be a little bit of a harder uphill battle for you. But that's a decision that you need to make internally on: do you have a face of the company? Do you want to be showcasing people within the company? Do you want to represent it as a personal brand? But people want to communicate with people, and especially now in 2020 and moving forward, it's that much more crucial that people do feel like they have that personal connection. So leveraging your social media and digital marketing channels to bring personality and start those conversations and bring relationships to the table is going to get you to your end goal faster. So if you want to be, it's better to bring people to the table and have those people person-to-person conversations.
People-to-people conversations. I agree. I think I love that. You know, one area of this book that I really enjoyed reading was actually, let me see which chapter this is. It's in the beginning, but it's an area that's called authority building. And I think, you know, if you haven't read the book yet, I highly recommend you get this book and you read this section. I actually read it a few times. I think it's really important when you talk about leadership. There's a lot of you out there that are watching that are very successful, really good at what you do. But sometimes, as we know, if people don't know where to find you, if you don't exist on a social platform, oftentimes you don't exist to your potential next customer or consumer. And one thing that I loved was the whole chapter on authority building. Now, Mike Alton, you were actually featured in this whole chapter, if you will. And I'm not sure who wants to take this, but I would love if one of you would talk about this, because I think it's important for those who are watching to think about social media in a different way. Do I get anybody want to raise a hand and take this chapter? Okay, I'm just going to pick.
I was hoping Mike would be able to come on camera, or at least pick up the audio on it.
Well, Jen, I would love if you don't mind talk about this. I think it's really important because I remember being a financial advisor. I'm still a financial advisor, but I remember being a financial advisor at Smith Barney. I knew my clients absolutely loved me and adored me, but I just knew that, as someone who was pregnant, looking to have kids and was really wanting to be a really active mom, I didn't want to miss out on potential business. And one thing that I realized is if someone wasn't out there talking about me, then nobody would know to find me, especially when I was with baby, right? And so authority building, I think, is powerful because I think a lot of you are really good at what you do, but you're not sure about how you could get noticed by media, by press, and be considered an expert. So Jen, talk about this a little bit. We can actually even pick on Mike because Mike's actually in this chapter. About how
he's so good at this.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to to building that authority, to all the things we talked about, having a good organic strategy to get started with, something that allows you to have content that people can refer to. That's going to come from not just social media, but your website, your blog, any videos that you're creating. All of these sorts of things, you have to have that content out there that shows that you are an authority, that you're trustworthy. Having ads to be able to get that exposure of that content out there. A lot of those ads can be brand awareness campaigns just to get that content out there, that you have this business, that you have this expertise, that this video or content is available for somebody. Using live video to get up there and show that on live camera, you can answer questions, that you aren't reading off of a teleprompter, that you aren't, just taking 38 takes on a video to get that perfect video out there. All of these components lead to that. But beyond that, like you said, how do you get people to find that content? A lot of it does come out to, essentially relationship marketing and also going into influencer marketing. So it's who you know as well. So whether you can get invited onto podcasts, whether you can be interviewed in roundup posts, whether or not, you have an opportunity to participate in local events, whether they are, chamber events or business events, those sorts of things that allow you to get your voice out there to other audiences. Regardless of the size of your audience, whether you have 10 people or 10,000, there's always more people out there with other audiences. And that's really what you want to capitalize on. Mm-hmm. And that's what goes into, again, now that influencer marketing level, where you get to work with people who have their spheres of influence, who are willing to talk about you. And those influencers can be anybody. I mean, it could be the mom down the street who's in, a mom's group or a book club. They're influencers just as much as somebody with a podcast that gets 100,000 downloads a week. Mm-hmm. So you really have to find that target audience. It's going to help you reach your target audience further beyond that and be able to get out with them.
Sure. I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jen, for that. Let me ask you, let's see if we can get Mike in on the conversation. Mike, let's try.
Yep,
you were actually featured in this paragraph. Okay, good. I think it's really important to talk about this. Can you share a little bit about your journey? Obviously, you have a very, very proper blogging site, and you know the space very well. Talk about, if you will, your journey with writing about Hootsuite. I thought that was a really cool story.
Yeah.
Or is it HubSpot?
HubSpot. My apologies. You're right. It was H word. We don't typically say, but I'll humor you. I want to echo what I said, because the real point of authority building is, as a business, you're not just saying you're an expert, right? You can say, I'm an expert at finance, I'm an expert at plumbing, or whatever the case might be. You're proving it by showing your work, so to speak, and giving people the information and the answers and that sort of thing that they might be looking for, that demonstrates that authority. So it's easier for them to decide to do business with you. So when I was, so to speak, in the social media world, I was blogging about social media marketing, and I chose a particular tool. This is all use Hootsuite and write about Hootsuite, and I published.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to jump in, Mike, because the internet, elves right now are very good to you. But let's do this. Let's do this. Amanda, maybe you can help us out a little bit, help tell a little bit more of the story. And I know you are going to give us some insight on metrics as well, but maybe you could tell the story. I think it's a really good one. That's actually on page 35 here.
I don't know that I'd be the right one to tell the story and do it justice, but Jen would be much better at that one. But I did want to touch on one point to dovetail on what Jen was saying earlier when it comes to building authority and authority building. Authority building is not vanity metrics. So what I mean by that is that it doesn't matter how many followers you have. It doesn't matter how many it doesn't matter how much you can show to how big of an Instagram following you have or how many likes you have on Facebook. The vanity metrics don't matter, but your digital footprint and your reach does. And your reach can be amplified by building relationships with other people, networking with other people, and just being good at what you do. So focus more on helping people, showing up, being present in the places that you need to be, and providing value, providing good content, and sticking with it and being consistent. And over time, you will start to build authority. People will recommend you. Word of mouth spreads, and not everything has to relate to dollars and cents, even though I'm learning to get better at that. But not everything has to relate to dollars and cents. Sometimes sharing your knowledge can be a huge step for building authority. But do not rely on vanity metrics to get you moving forward. So over to Jen with the Hootsuite story.
Well, let me jump in real quick, actually, because I'm going to share with you really quick how I read this. And so basically what I understand is Mike actually started writing and blogging about Hootsuite and continued to do articles about updates with the software and whatnot. And he actually got on the radar of Hootsuite, which then engaged him to do more projects there and other articles and whatnot. And he became known as an expert outside of Hootsuite, literally one of the most renowned experts in that type of software. So if you're watching and you're thinking, well, I really know fill in the blank really well, like they spoke earlier about plumbing or finance, you want to make sure that you're seen as a leader in that space. And it's really important because even like myself, I've done a lot of partner work with major brands such as Hilton Hotels and TurboTax and other. You're seen as an influencer because people trust that you know what you're talking about in your area of expertise. And that's where I really want to jump to Stephanie. Actually, Stephanie, I know this is an area that you know quite a lot about. And, a lot of businesses, I've heard a lot of businesses even say, actually, a good friend of mine told me a couple years ago, didn't you work in Hollywood on a lot of television shows? And I said, yes. Don't you work with movie producers now? I was like, yes. Do you think you could get me Jessica Alba, or I could just get Demi Lovato? I mean, when they think of influencer, they think of that. And I said, maybe you want to sort of take a little backseat and really plan this out and talk to a social media expert like Stephanie. So Stephanie, let's talk a little bit about this. Social media, influencer marketing, a business, smaller business. We have a lot of small businesses out there struggling, restaurants and hotels in our neighborhoods. What do you tell them about influencer marketing? What do you think is important to think about without jumping to that A-lister? Because I don't really think you necessarily need to have that sort of budget to be able to be influential in influencer marketing. Agree or disagree?
Totally agree. Absolutely agree. I think there's definitely a lot of advantages when you're working with a micro influencer, someone that doesn't have, thousands or millions and millions of followers. However, with their niche audience, they have the power to captivate. They have the power to influence. And by doing so, you can work together, you can collaborate and co-create content that could spread across the internet like digital confetti, right? Because now you have someone amplifying what your brand stands for, who you work with, what level of service you have to offer. And then once they do that, right, you could take that budget, as Amanda was saying, you could take that budget and really, really make it work for you in all these different places. and then measure whether or not it's actually getting the results that you wanted to get. And in that aspect, you're really getting a great return on your investment. And I know that all of your audience is very, very interested in that, right?
We are interested in money.
Yeah, look at these potential content creators, see what space they're in, how they're leveraging their audiences, how they're creating their content, because you may actually have a vision of how you want this sponsored content to look like, but because the micro influencer, the content creator, your Roberto Blakes, your Owen videos, right? They know how to structure a video, or Mike, for example, how to structure a blog post that is going to get amplified and shared multiple times. So work with your influencer, figure out what works best. They know in the mindset of their audience where they live. They respect their model of the world, their values, their beliefs, the attitudes, and they're going to help you get there a lot faster.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's a great example. Stephanie, I'm actually going to pick on you for this. And you'll be okay with this, but I think because Stephanie has an incredible live streaming show. And one of the things that Stephanie does very, very well, as you can tell already, her attention to detail, to everything that she does, especially in a scope of video, is obviously, well, it's very obvious as you see her production quality now. But not only does she do that, is she highlights and picks experts in different spaces and brings them to her show to highlight their expertise. So it's so engaging. It's video that's important, that's engaging, but you're bringing together two influencers, Stephanie Liu herself, as well as somebody else in a different space that also helps to tell a story that is most importantly important to that audience, because I know Stephanie does as well. I know Jen, Amanda, Mike for sure, very much in tune with how do we make sure that your audiences you are cared for and that it's respected. Because at the end of the day, I always say it's important to create content, but before you do that, focus on relationships, because you don't want to create vanity content. Then it's content that only your mom or your family member sees. You do this high level production because you haven't developed a community yet. The community is critical, and every single one of these authors on the Ultimate Guide to Social Media has built an incredible community. And on that note, Jen, I definitely wanted to come back to you, but I wanted to keep you for this. I want you, Jen, to talk to me about collaborations and community, as well as your mastermind, because I understand, if I gather, some of you actually met through this process. So Jen, can you talk a little bit about that? Because I've never been a part of this, but this sounds really interesting.
Yeah, and I've long said, collaboration, not competition. And sometimes that means collaborating with another person, another brand, another company that is parallel to what you do, not necessarily the same as what you do. So for example, if you are a fashion blogger, you might not want to, partner with another fashion blogger, but you could partner with people who have fashion boutiques, brick and mortar, and you could partner for collaboration. You could work with somebody who designs jewelry and do collaborations. In our scope, and more of a service and expertise type environment, we came together as a collaboration with the 360 Marketing Squad because we wanted to do more for our audiences. We wanted to have a membership. And Mike, Stephanie, and I had already started what was basically a mastermind for the three of us. We all have young girls about the same age. We're all in this digital marketing space. And we just wanted a safe place where we could vent and, bounce ideas off of each other and support each other in both, business as well as family environments. And we started talking about wanting to do more, and we wanted to do a membership, but to take on a membership by yourself is a lot of work. And we were like, well, if we partnered, it would be less work. So it was a way to bring everybody together and give all of our audiences, not just my audience, not just Mike's audience, not just Stephanie's audience. And we were like, okay, well, what do we want to do? And as we started talking about it, we were like, well, we need a fourth person, and we need someone who can cover the paid advertising, which was inevitably going to be the wonderful Amanda Robinson. So she became the fourth, kind of leg of the 360 Marketing Squad. And it was that opportunity for us to roll out and say, we're going to give you a 360-degree approach to marketing. But now, instead of doing one training every month for a whole year, I do one a quarter because the other three do the other three. So it's a chance for us to do even more for our audiences, for the membership, to be able to create more content without each one of us having to do as much work as we would on our own. So just from that component alone, it was an absolute win-win across the board. But that then led to the book as well, because we were reached out to and said, hey, would you want to participate? And it was kind of one of those things, well, if two said yes, we didn't really want the other two to say no. And so we were kind of, strong arm each other through the process. But we were also able to completely support each other through the process. And Mike was for sure the guiding force in that. He worked with our other co-author, Eric, as kind of the leads on that and making sure that we had what we needed and kind of doing the organizational components. Because again, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. I'm really good at certain things and Stephanie's great at certain things and Amanda's great at certain things, but we're not great at everything. And so Mike was able to take that organizational component and allow us to do the things that we were good at so we could come out with a really good, wonderful product that we're happy with, but that didn't require each one of us to sit down and write this entire book on our own. And that's really the key to collaboration. At whatever stage of business you're in, whether you're a startup, whether you've been an established company for 20 years, if you can collaborate with other people that either align with your business or that are in that same space, it really does alleviate pressure off of you, but it also amplifies that opportunity for growth and exposure.
I love this. This is great, Jen. I think those of you who are watching, think about this. Think about what industry that you're in and think about areas or people that you could actually pair up with. For example, like in my business as a financial advisor, obviously a CPA is a great person to collaborate with, as well as, I have a love for travel. So I'm also do a lot in that space too, travels and credit cards. It kind of all makes sense. And of course, I have relied a lot on Stephanie Liu, who's my friend also, on tips on live video and everything else. I mean, this idea of collaboration, partnership, that cohesive coming together is so smart. I think during this time, during the pandemic, don't feel like you're on an island and this is overwhelming, because it can be overwhelming. What you want to do is obviously pick up the book. I think start with the book. Figure out the areas that you really want to focus on and literally put Post-its in it and just start. I would say it's kind of creating your financial plan. Don't go crazy. Pick 3 goals, right? And rank them like 1 to 3rd being the most important. I'm guessing when it comes to like social media advertising, like Amanda's, ninja-ness, that's probably going to be a little overwhelming for you. But there's other areas that you can get to kind of put together your own plan and then find partners that maybe have an interest in things that you really don't have that much of an interest in, and bring that collaboration. Because I love this. It's a very inspiring, Jen, to hear you talk about this mastermind, how it came together, the sort of 360 marketing. It makes perfect sense. And not only that, as a parent, I kind of love that, because speaking once a quarter is certainly a lot easier than speaking every day or even every month. So
and just to finish that out as well as a closing thought, it does actually make us money as well. I just want to point, because I know that is important to the audience as well. Us collaborating was allowing us to create another revenue stream for us each individually as well. So collaboration doesn't just have to be on the back end. It can also be on that bottom line.
Well, Jen, I kind of hope that is profitable. So I'm really glad to hear that. Those of you who watch me every day, this is another bar of soap, right? We talk about the importance of having more bars of soap. This is a great bar of soap. Not only that, I will say, if you build this properly and smartly, it might feel like it takes a long time, but at some point it starts to live and breathe and becomes another income stream for you, especially during the pandemic. It's something you can you can take advantage of, you can grow, you can nurture, and you build these great relationships and collaborations. Now we're gonna have a little bit of fun here. In fact, I didn't even share this with my friends here, but you know what? We gotta keep it real. And you know what? We gotta see just how good you are. All right. So here's gonna be my first question. Guess what? Gonna pick on you again, Stephanie. Stephanie, you get to go first. All right. Your ideal first social media platform. Boom.
First ideal social media platform, as of today, I would say LinkedIn. I think there is a lot of untapped opportunities on LinkedIn, and they're providing you so many ways to create content. They just rolled out LinkedIn stories. As soon as I started sharing live streaming tips about neurolinguistic programming, my profile views actually increased. And because the way that LinkedIn is set up, I could see which companies are interested. I could see which individuals. I could follow up with them. I could get to know their backgrounds, their values, beliefs, and attitudes, and really start leveraging resources and relationships. Like, oh, Winnie, do you know that person? Can you make an introduction?
No. I'm kidding. All right, Amanda, your question, same question. Your first ideal social media platform if you were starting from scratch right now?
Facebook, hands down Facebook. And the rationale and reason being, it is the lowest barrier to entry, I would say. It's been around for an extremely long time. It has all the features there and the audience there that is tried, tested, and true. So I love everything Stephanie said about LinkedIn, but I feel like LinkedIn is still trying to find its footing as far as not being late to game, but the features are all new and the algorithm is new and everything is still
gloves are about
settling
to
into
come
its
off.
place on LinkedIn. I know. Whereas Facebook has a good track record, long-standing history of being able to actually connect I don't want to.
In
They're
her
both
world,
good.
it works in her world.
Yeah, because I get
this.
results. I
See,
get
we
results
want
on
this
Facebook.
conflicting information because it helps us as we're watching to learn and figure out what makes most sense. And really, we love learning it from you because if the experts like yourself feel different things about different platforms, that's really great because those of you who are watching might think differently as well. So, Jen, give it to me. First platform, if you were starting out, which platform would you go with?
I'm going to be the tiebreaker here, and I'm going to go with Amanda and say Facebook for all the reasons she said, but also especially if you're starting out, if you are literally starting from scratch and you're trying to build your foundation and you start on those strategy things that we talked about at the top of the show, going where people are, which is Facebook, whether they want to admit it or not, is an advantage. But you as a user are probably more comfortable on Facebook as well. It's likely a platform that you've been using for so long. And if you're starting out from scratch, it's easier to start someplace where you are comfortable. And if you're used to Facebook, it's going to make it easier for you to create content. You already know what you like to see and what you don't like to see. And that's going to help you in creating that content more easily. And then you can move to LinkedIn and take all the advantages that Stephanie talked about.
Okay, so you know what? I love this because I am going to respectfully disagree with all of you and agree with Stephanie because I agree with LinkedIn, and I think for me, I think for many businesses or in sort of the more traditional, businessy space, LinkedIn is definitely where it's at right now. You can see so much information, who's viewing your profile, who potential media relationships, business relations, so powerful. And I'm loving the new, not only do they have LinkedIn Learning, but that right now we have, the newsletter feature and now stories is really cool. And I think it's where it's at. All right, next question. Let's start with Amanda for this one. Lead you with your business profile or your personal profile?
What was the first part?
Should you lead with your business profile or your personal profile?
All right, so it depends on what platform you're on, but let's talk Facebook because that's my language. Personal profile, you all have one. Business page, not everybody has one, but you definitely need one. So if you are, for example, a real estate agent and you've been operating and doing business based on your personal profile and your friends network and then posting listings on your profile, that's the wrong way to do it. It's actually against Facebook's terms of service. You need to be operating and doing business on a business page. And if you have not been putting the time, work, energy, and effort into fostering and growing your audience within your business page, then yeah, it is hard. It's hard to get started, but you got to start today and start migrating and teaching your audience and teaching your friends and family and customers and clients. Teach them that that's where they can find you. So you can still be present personally, but if you're not putting the energy and effort into the business side of things, then you're not able to tap into the entire suite of advertising and algorithm and audiences that you do have available to you that you can grow and that you can turn into dollars and cents. So when you're late to the game and you haven't been putting the energy and work into your business pages, not just your personal profile, then you're leaving a huge chunk of money on the table. And when you finally wake up and realize you need to be doing that, you have a longer road to catch up with your competition. So start today.
Don't you love this conversation? We're talking social media and they're talking money. They're like, you're leaving money on the table. We don't want to leave money on the table. This is like, these are my people. These are my people.
Don't leave money on the table. That should be like the hashtag. Like, don't leave money on the table.
Don't leave money on the table. Let's collect those. So Stephanie Liu, we're taking it to LinkedIn now. All right. Business, personal, how do we lead?
I find that your personal profile is really, really where it's going to be at. People want to connect with people. We all crave a sense of belongingness, and you can't help it, but you want to snoop on other people and figure out, like, where did you work? What's your education? What circles are you a part of? Do we have a shared interest? And then that way you could really build on those relationships. Like, for example, like Brian Fanzo, fantastic speaker, keynote speaker. He shares so many wonderful stories. And so he's easily able to get booked for other virtual conferences because he's always sharing behind the scenes of what it is exactly that he's doing. And I feel that most people are looking for that rapport. They're looking for rapport. And so when you could do that through your LinkedIn stories, through even just in the conversations, it makes it so much more fun. I would definitely push people to the profiles.
All right, Jen, let me ask you this. We've heard a lot about the importance of being verified. How important is being verified? Like, if you're not verified, you feel like you're at a disadvantage. How much priority should be placed on that, Jen?
And that's a hard thing to answer because depending on the platform, it's really hard to get verification. And verified accounts can sometimes be like, really, they got it and I didn't get it. Like, what did I miss out on? I don't think it's all that important in the long run. A lot of the verified accounts are going to be things like, Nike or, Chris Hemsworth, people who are hugely recognizable, brands that are hugely recognizable. And we want to make sure that someone isn't imposing as them elsewhere and that they aren't imposter accounts, that they aren't fake accounts. So in those situations, that verified check mark across whatever platform usually helps to distinguish. We know we're finding the right person, the right brand. For most brands, it's not that important in the long run. If you are putting up content, if your, profile has your logo, your information, your contact information, and your content, people know that that is you. And I can attest to this because I am not verified, even though I have tried to do it and they just don't want to give it to me on pretty much any platform. But I have had people reach out to me and be like, hey, this person's, posing as you over here on Instagram, or this person created a Twitter account with your profile photo. If people know you, they will recognize if someone is trying to, in some way pass themselves off as you or do some sort of fake account, and they will let you know, in which case you get to report them and they get taken down. And it's a pain to deal with, but it can be done. And if you are consistently creating content in terms with your brand, then there really isn't any concern about whether or not you're verified.
Perfect. Thank you, Jen. Okay, last question. Stephanie Liu, how many hours a day are you on social media?
Oh, wow. Hours a day? I mean, in all honesty, because my clients are in social media, probably like maybe 3 or 4 hours. I'm very just cognizant of my time because my time is now split between distance learning and putting boundaries around my own self-health, right, mentally. So I'm usually there just for work, but I know when to cut it off unless I'm working on a proposal. So I'm very mindful of what suggestions I'm putting in here, how social media is making me feel. So I use it as a way to help me in my business and to help me in my relationships, but I try not to spend so much time on TikTok. Although Mike would disagree with you if he had the best internet right now.
Mike Alden, 8 hours on TikTok. Okay, got it. All right. Jen Herman, how many hours are you on social media? Because a lot of businesses are saying, I don't even have any more time left in my day.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can add another layer of social media to my life.
And this is where I want to distinguish as well. Personally, I'm on social media more than I care to admit. So I'm not going to probably put that number out there in the universe. Professionally,
Jen.
it's probably approaching double digits. But that's honestly because I use social media for news. I don't turn on the news on the TV. I follow news stations on social media, and that's how I consume my news. That's how it's going on with friends and family. That's how I share what's going on with me and my daughter. So I am on there at least probably 6 to 8 hours a day, give or take. But that being said, from a business perspective, what I'm doing daily in terms of creating content is less than an hour. Yeah. It's really not that much when you think about it. And I tell people all the time when it comes to, starting out new, if you can only afford 20 or 30 minutes a day, that's okay. social media will, it's like a lot of things. You get what you put into it. If you want to put in 9 hours a day, great, go for it. And you can do all these grandiose things and amazing plans. When you're talking about your strategy, if you only have 20, 30 minutes a day, okay, don't expect to, grow to 500,000 followers in 6 months and generate 2 million more in revenue.
Yeah. No, I'm going to add something in there too, because here's the thing is that you might have a viewer that's listening right now and might be saying 3 to 4 hours or an hour, 30 minutes. That doesn't sound feasible. I feel like there's so much to do. But there's a chapter in the book on how to build your remote social media team. There are guidelines there on how you could divvy up the task, because you as a CEO, you as the chief financial officer, the one that has the vision of your path, you need to be up here, not into the little bitty, like what's going on with the algorithm, how did that A/B split test work out? You have to do what you do best and then hire the rest. That's what you got to do.
Yes, great idea. All right, so I don't know, Amanda, it sounds like advertising is going to take some time, right?
Yeah, so as far as the number of hours that I'm on social media, all of them, pretty much all of them. So this is where it's actually a point of frustration for me, is that my office is Facebook. So whether it's on Facebook on the organic side, or whether it's Facebook in the back end in Ads Manager, or exploring new features with the catalog or in Business Manager, or recording content related to Facebook and having to either live stream or be in the back end to build out other pieces of content or work with clients, I'm 100% all in. So my work day is 100% pretty much on Facebook, on social media. When I take my own personal time, my own personal breaks, you'll find me over on TikTok, lurking around there, watching Stephanie Liu's content. But it's too much. It's overwhelming, but social media is my office. So I don't have an off switch. So when we actually look at how much time do I spend scrolling the Facebook newsfeed, next to none. I barely ever on purpose go to my newsfeed and just scroll around looking at everyone else's content. I incidentally see everybody else's content as I'm navigating to and from different places in Facebook, but it's too much. It's overkill. And this is the one, I feel like it's like a job hazard that no one talks about, and it's not recognizable. You know how, throughout the 90s into 2000s, people really started to understand and recognize MSIs, musculoskeletal injuries, right? From being on the computer too long, being in certain positions, carpal tunnel, whatnot. I feel like there's something about social media that isn't super healthy all the time around, but it's still my office, and it's still where I have to be pretty much multiple hours of the day. And I work like an entrepreneur. I work all the hours. So I do wish sometimes that I could just have an out of office on Facebook to say, look, everybody, I'm not present, but I'm here. I'm working. I can't put my attention into everything, everywhere, and respond to everybody, even though you can see the red receipts that I've read your message. So it's tough. That part's tough, but yeah, all the hours.
Yeah, I think, Amanda, you just scared off their entire audience right now. But that's okay.
I'm not like the rest of them.
I'm totally
boundaries.
If you decide that you want,
whatever business, have
that's
boundaries.
The thing, that boundaries is a great thing. I will tell you, when I first started doing social media, on top of my client base, on top of kids and everything else, this is what I subscribe to. And I would suggest, if you're like a business owner and thinking about just sort of dabbling or just trying, is I do what I call breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So 15 minutes before the kids get up, 15 minutes during my lunch break, and 15 minutes really after the kids go down to sleep. But I call it breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because I think that consistency is important, because I think all of our experts today would tell you this. It's not about the numbers. It's not about, how much you spend necessarily, but it's about engagement. And when you are there to be able to see someone's comment about you or something that interests you, you need to be part of that conversation, or be there to celebrate or say happy birthday. You just have to be on, because out of sight, out of mind, right? So you have to have some sort of presence. I mean, now that I've been doing social media for so long, I certainly will tell you, after work and on the weekends, I'm almost non-existent on social media. And I think that's okay. So I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I do highly recommend, let's bring all our amazing authors out again. I highly recommend, if this is sort of your first step in this direction, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you are successful. And this yet is another tool to be able to take you through this pandemic. And I want to thank my friends here, certainly, for number one. And by the way, this book is is like one of the top sellers on Amazon, just so you know. I feel like a proud aunt right now. I'm not even part of this book, but I feel like somehow invested because so many of my friends are part of this book. But you know, this is a way, if you read through this book, I'm certain that you will think of some way to leverage social media and digital advertising, thanks to our queen Amanda here too, of like figuring out something that'll click, that'll take your business to that next level that you want to do. And in a very, I will say, in a very cost-effective way. So this is, as long as you have a smartphone and the internet, okay, you can grow to the Amandas of the world. But right now, to build a presence and a profile, we love you, Amanda, by the way. You know, I will say I would love more Amanda in my life. So, but you know, when you first start off, there's so many great gems in this book that will help you. And so thank you, my friends, for being here. And thank you, Mike, for being here in spirit. We know you're here. We wish the internet elves were kinder to you today. But let me tell you, we will certainly invite Mike Alton back because he is literally, goodness, this is not an exaggeration. He is literally one of the kindest, most generous people I've ever met, period. But it happens to be like legendary in the social media space, especially when it comes to blogging. But he's like, I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. I'll embarrass him because he can't respond. You know, when I have certain questions, because obviously my team, we've done social media for quite some time, but there's always going to be some questions that you don't know and you're not sure who to ask. That's why I go to Mike. Mike is the person that I will say, like, Mike, do you know about this? And Mike doesn't give you the answer, which is, I'll tell you, is a good thing, because he'll say, like, here's my Calendly, book a time, let's get together and talk about it. And then he goes through that, and by the time he answers your question in the first 2 minutes, but by the time you're done with talking to him, you're just like, wow, I thought I knew social media. I don't know social media. Mike knows social media. He knows what to do, who to talk to. He'll introduce you to good people. Not only that, he'll teach you how to get your content from being this like beautiful little happy pie to like being shared on the universe. So I know I read so much of this, and a lot of that is in here. So if you don't know Mike Alton, let me tell you, this is a way to get access to him, as well as Stephanie Liu and Amanda Robinson and the one and only Jen Herman. But thank you so much, my friends, for sharing today and being so generous with your time and just being all around great people. I think during the pandemic, we need more of this. So thank you for that. The only thing I'm not happy about, I will tell you, is that I only have one signature in my book.
I was going to say, don't say the chatbot chapter. Don't say the chatbot chapter.
No, I only have one signature in the book. And so we need to fix that.
We will fix that.
We will fix that. The other thing I'm going to ask you, because we're friends here, I would like to see if you would consider sending me an extra copy of the book that I could actually give to somebody who's watching today. I'd be very grateful for that. And so those of you who are watching, if you found this helpful, send us a message, let us know. And most importantly, if you have any questions, send them along, because I'd love to hear, number one, where you're joining us from, what questions you might have, and where you would rank yourself in terms of social media. 1 being just straight out starting, 10 being, you know what, I'm like Stephanie Liu and Jen Herman, and I'm like them. Okay, that would be a 10. Tell me where you run. And that way we can have these conversations, because what we can do is help each other during this time, be able to try to streamline our businesses, spend more time with our loved ones. You saw Jen had a little one coming along. That's what matters. Those are the people in the lives that matter to us. And we want to spend more time with them, and telling you social media can actually help you do that. And I tell you that from the bottom of my heart as a mom of 3 kids. The reason why I joined and started social media for the first time, because I'm an extreme introvert. You wouldn't even believe that, but I'm an extreme introvert. But the reason why I started social media, my first platform was actually LinkedIn, was because I wanted to spend more time with my kids. And that was it. So thank you, my friends, for everything you do. And a huge thank you to Jim, to Todd, to Daniel, to Robin, to Silky Smooth, to let's see, we got Get It Hair, my girl Get It Hair. Thank you so much for being here. Amazing Lena, all of you for tuning in. Appreciate you so much. Please do me a favor and follow my friends here. Let's do a real quick shout out. Stephanie, how do they follow you?
You can find me, if you're watching on Twitter, find me on Twitter. Hey, Stephanie. If you're on LinkedIn, it's Stephanie Liu, and you'll see me. Hi.
It's great videos, by the way. Got to follow her videos. All right, Amanda, I know there's a lot of business out there who are already taking their social media to a certain level. They definitely want to learn more about advertising and maybe even seeing if they can collaborate with you. Where do they follow you?
You can find me everywhere, all the way around the web at The Digital Gal. You will specifically find me on Facebook, facebook.com/The Digital Gal. And if you want to learn Facebook ads, I have a program for you called A Swift Kick in the Ads. And you should check it out.
Super cute. Super cute. Okay, Jen Herman, I will tell you, I've been wanting to meet you for so many years. I'm so glad that we finally met. But how can others learn more about you, follow what you're doing?
I am pretty much everywhere as either Jen Herman or Jen's Trends, JENNS_trends on Instagram and Twitter. Facebook, search for Jen's Trends. You'll find the page, and you'll also find the Facebook group. That's where I actually tell everyone to come hang out with me, because the group is where I share all breaking news related to Instagram as well as all other things social media related. It's a great safe space.
You know what? We can't leave without Mike. So I'm going to pull out Stephanie Liu, his best friend, and also, by the way, an amazing dancer, especially in the area of Star Wars. Stephanie Liu, tell us about Mike. Where can we follow him?
Honestly, if you're looking for someone who can help you with your content strategy, help you with your influencer marketing, build these relationships, he is probably like the number one person where you want to build a relationship, right? Best place to find him, obviously, is going to be Facebook. That's where he is. Definitely go to bloggingbrute.com, digest all of the free content that he puts out there. Oh, and he has a new newsletter, the Hyper Marketing Overdrive. Yeah, see, she loves it too. We read it for like bedtime, and we learn all about all this marketing stuff, right?
Yeah.
We love
Uncle
Mike Alton, yeah?
Alton is awesome. Yes, and we love Mike Alton. And because, the internet elves weren't kind to him, let's go ahead and show his website. Here's his website. Here's where you can follow him. You'll see all his social handles right there. Definitely, let me just tell you, reach out to him. If you get a chance to hear him speak, see him on social, tell me if you think he literally is one of the nicest people. All of these people on this on our show today are incredible people, but definitely do me a favor, because he wasn't able to join us live. We'll definitely have him back in the future. Follow Blogging Brew, a great human being. And those of you who are looking to do more in the area of blogging and creating written content, a great person to follow as well. Thank you sincerely so much, my friends, for being here, being a part of the show. We love coming to you live every day after the financial markets close. And of course, what we do here is, we're hoping to add value to your life as we're going through this crazy pandemic and beyond. Now, tomorrow, I want to invite you back. So tomorrow, you're definitely going to want to join us once again. I mean, if you thought this power group was amazing on the ultimate guide to social media, let me tell you about tomorrow. You've heard some people only pay $750 in federal taxes, right? How do they do it? I know, I've got questions on that too. Well, tomorrow, I'm actually inviting a longtime friend onto the show. You'll want to join us at 1:30 Pacific or 4:30 Eastern. One of the most in-demand business, corporate, tax CPAs here in Los Angeles is going to be joining me tomorrow. So come with your tax questions. We're going to go deep dive and find out what we need to know about taxes and really sort of make heads and tails and better understand what's going on here in the news about taxes. So join me tomorrow. And of course, it's also AWA, which is Ask Winnie Anything. And you have submitted so many questions to me this week. So we are going to tackle a bunch of them together tomorrow. So you'll not only get the financial pro, but you'll also get that tax pro. So join us, tell your friends, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care, my friends, and stay well.